Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you how I made these bookmarks. I made 120 of them as my swaps for when I go to the OnStage Live Convention in Amsterdam next week. By the time the video goes live, it will actually be the day after the convention has finished. But what these are, it has a vellum top and I've done dry embossing on that, and then on the cardstock underneath I've done heat embossing. So the cardstock you're going to need, I've actually used our Shimmery White Cardstock, but our normal Whisper White cardstock would be fine. The reason I've used this is because I had a lot of offcuts from when I did my daughter's wedding invitations recently, so I thought I might as well use that. So both of these pieces, and this is our vellum cardstock by the way, which is a really lovely quality, really nice and thick. So both of these measure 5 3/4 inches by a tad short of 2 inches wide. If you're in the States, you can use just half of the length of your sheets, because the actual length doesn't really matter. As you can see, we've got all this space here. Yours will be shorter than ours, but it doesn't matter. This is the important bit from here downwards, and that's going to be fine for you. So whatever half your sheet is, I think it will be 5.5 inches. I'm not sure though. So that's what this is, and in centimetres that's 14.5 by 5 centimetres. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to do the dry embossing. Now it's going to be a bit difficult to show you this, but I'm going to do it before I bring the big shot over. The embossing folder that I'm using is called Floral Affection, and there are these two in the pack. They're small ones like this. This is the pattern, although this is just at 60% of the size. This is the real size. And what you need to do is to get the vellum lined up in here. Now this is the challenge, to show you where it needs to be lined up. If I can get the light to reflect in that, I should be able to do this. Right, so if you see that flower there, there's one the same on the other side as well. Okay, that one there. You will find that that edge on the flower, that edge there, and that edge there, that's it. You'll find that they will just about touch or slightly disappear underneath the vellum. Okay, just make sure that you've got the same amount of flower showing on both sides. You need to make sure that your paper is in as high as it will go without scrunching up at the top. Then the next bit you need to line this up at is this dot down here. Let me get that shining in the light. There we go. That one there. And there should be one on the other side as well. That one there. Yep, you can see that. So that should be just slightly disappearing under the vellum as well. So let me get mine positioned. I'm going to have to move it because I've got to get the big shot up here, but let me at least show you how this should be lined up first. Right, now that is how I will do mine. Just make sure it's actually straight. Right, okay. Now, can you see the flower at the top? Let me see if I can hold that steady. Right, that flower there, as it is touched, it's just about disappearing under the vellum there, and the one on the other side is as well. And then when you come down further, where's the dot gone? There. You see that dot there? That is just beginning to disappear under the vellum, and so is it there as well. Okay, that's not quite straight, that's got to come over slightly. But you get the idea. They've both got to be showing the same amount on both sides. That flower up there and also that dot. If those are in place, the rest has got to be okay. Right, so let me get the big shot up first. As you can imagine, doing 120 of them as swaps, I did finish up with my piece of vellum in different positions. But no great shakes. I tell you what the perfect place is, and as long as you're really close to that, it'll be fine. Now I'm using my Big Shot platform. This is one of the new ones. This is what you would get if you bought a Big Shot now, and you'd also get the thin die adapter that goes with it, but we don't need that for embossing. So I put one cutting map in there. Now I'm going to get my vellum lined up again. So that's my two flowers lined up, and that's the dots lined up. I don't know if that's any help, is it? Can you see my paper against the flowers? I don't think you can really, can you? Oh, maybe. But anyway, I'm happy with that. I'm not going to let it go for dear life now. So pop that in. And just crank that through. I have to say I did start getting a bit lazy, and I started putting two pieces of vellum through at the same time. So if you were making lots as swaps or to sell at craft shows or things like that, you can get away with putting 2 or 3. Well, at least I can with my machine. So I imagine that lots of other people can as well. So there we go. That's what I finished up with. That is very, very nearly spot on, but it's lovely, isn't it? So this now is actually upside down. Okay, this is going to be the top and this will be the base. Now what we need to do is, on our cardstock, we need to do our stamping so that I've got that coming underneath the dry embossing. The thank you has got to go in between, and then that has got to come above the dry embossing. Again, it's not exactly spot on, but if you're doing a lot of these, you may find making yourself one of these helpful. I'll give you the measurements and you can see how I use it once I've done one. Okay, so basically I use this as my guide. I have this by the side of it, and this tells me where I've got to put that stamp, and that stamp. As I say, it's not precise, but it will help to get everything in position so that this does not get buried underneath the embossing. So what this is about 2.5 inches wide, I think. Yep. And if you make marks down here, starting from the bottom, that's at 5/8 inches, that's at 1 inch, that's at 3¼ inches, that's at 3 5/8 inches, and that's 4¼ inches. And centimetres, that's 1.5, 2.5, 8.2, 9.2 and 10.8. Now you'll see that I have drawn lines from that measurement down to the bottom, and then a line between that, and then from that line to that line. That is my guide to make sure that I'm getting my stamps lined up. You may want to use that idea, you may not. It's there if you feel that it's helpful. Now I'm going to use Bermuda Bay for my colour, and I just inked this because it was getting quite dry after doing so many of the others, and it's never a good idea to re-ink a pad just before a video, so it is going to be a bit too moist really, but this is what it's meant to be looking like. Okay, Right, so the stamps I'm going to use. First of all, there's this one, which is from Blooming Love. It's this here. And the thank you is from the Vertical Greetings stamp set, which I love this, absolutely love this. I've wanted a Vertical Greetings set for a long time, and this is just fantastic because it's got several different things on it, like happy birthday, thank you, congratulations, etc. So what I'm going to do, the other thing is, what I was doing, because I managed to build up some speed, I was stamping, and then dipping it into my clear embossing powder, because you do have a certain amount of time before the ink actually dries. And I will definitely have enough time now because this ink pad is just so wet. I can't even say it's moist because it's wet. So this is my embossing powder, and I will go over with my embossing buddy first. Now I know that you can stamp your stamp in Versamark and then into your ink and then stamp it down and sprinkle with embossing powder, clear embossing powder. But that really is not an option when you've got 120 to do, because after each one you have to clean your stamps. So what I do is I just stamp and then dip this into the embossing powder, and I find it works brilliantly. Not quite sure how well it works with it as moist as it is. I'm going to say it's moist, I'm not going to say it's wet. Right, so I'm going to give it a wipe with my embossing buddy. And with this, what I do is I'm going to run this through first, give you a dry run. There's a right way, to me, there's a right way and a wrong way for this to go. You may agree, may not agree, but whichever way you do it down at the bottom, if you do that at the bottom, then when you get up to the top, you want to turn it around and do it that way. I think, anyway. Otherwise, I think one does look upside down. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to ink and stamp. Now this is going to line up here. Okay, so my first one, I'm going to line it up with this line here. Okay, I'm not going to worry that it's in there precisely, as long as it is mainly against that line, that's fine. And then once I've stamped that one, I'm going to turn it upside down. That stamp mark, where I've stamped the flowers there, it's got to line up with that one. And then I know, ink it and stamp, and I line it up with this one again. And then I turn it back round again, line this back up here, and then I know my thank you has got to go in there. That probably sounds a bit complicated, but it really isn't. Okay, so I've explained it so that I don't have to stop once I've started, so that I can get it done and get it dipped in there. In fact, what I could do two, couldn't I? Could show you another one. Let's do that. I've got more strips of paper here. Right, so the first one, and you see I'm only doing this approximately. It doesn't have to be right against it. I'm just using it as a guide. Okay, so this is the first one. Turn it round, line it up with that one there. So I'm now going to stamp this way. I've turned, no, I didn't turn it, did I? Because I turned my paper instead. So I've got that one. I'm going to turn it round again, line it up with the top here, bring this one over, thank you, and then stamp it so that this goes from that flower, in between the centre of that flower and that flower. Okay, and then I just pick this up and then put it into my embossing powder. Okay, so now I would just put that under my heat tool and that would be it done. Let me just do another one to show you. Okay, so I'm going to start off like that. My flowers the right way round, ink, line it up, stamp. I forgot my dust buddy, but never mind. Line this one up with that side, stamp to line up with this one, turn it around again, and my thank you, and then stamp that in the middle between those two flowers, and then dip this into the, or sprinkle over, depends how you do yours. Okay, so that's all you need to do for that one. Now it needs to be heat embossed, and I can't see my little tweezers that I normally hold this with. Oh, there, it's right under my nose, as always. Right, let's hold that. I'll bring my heat gun in. This is going to take a couple of minutes because it's going from cold, so bear with me for a moment. There we go. Let's see if you can see the shine on there. Yeah. Yes, you can, definitely. So that's pretty good, isn't it? And that's without any Versamark. So what I'm going to do now is I need to get my vellum on top. And as you can see, the dry emboss part fits in between there, so that's why you may decide that that would be helpful for you. I will put all the measurements on the screen and also in the box below as well for that. I'm going to call it the template. Okay, so when you want the measurements of this, just look for template. I'm going to move these out of the way because they are very, very inky. So the next thing I'm going to do is to adhere my vellum to my bookmarker. I'm going to use fast fuse, and I'm just going a little bit above this heat embossing. But to put this on, I'm going to start down this end and I'm going to line this up. I'm keeping the other end up away from the fast fuse. Now once that's down and in place, you can follow this up to make sure it stays in line. There we go. Now this hardly, well, I don't think that can be seen through there. I don't know. Yeah, I suppose I can just about see that. But it is so faint that really is not an issue for me. Don't know. See if I can tilt it so that you can see it. I think you may be able to see a straight line there. but as I say, it really isn't an issue for me. So that's adhered down now nicely. Now I'm going to do my tag topper top, and this is why you need it a tad short of 2 inches so that it slides in there. Just push it all the way through, and then punch that out. And then we just need to do our ribbon, and I'm using the 1/8 of an inch stitched ribbon, and this is in Bermuda Bay. I need just 6 inches, and the way I do this is I put my ribbon as if I'm making one of the breast cancer bows, and then I keep the feet together and put the feet in from the back through to the front, and I don't let this get twisted. So as this comes through, I put both these feet back through the loop, pull it through, but don't pull it tight. Once you got to that stage, if you pull it down like this, so you've exposed that bit there, and get yourself some glue dots. This is what will hold the ribbon in place. So just take a glue dot, pull this back, pop that down there, and then pull that a little bit tight, and make sure that you've got your ribbon pieces separate so that each piece is being held in place by the glue dot. Okay, and then I just tidy up the ends, and then that is done. That's my bookmark, which is a really nice, quick, easy job, except when you've got 120 of them to do. Let me just show you some of the other colours that I did. In fact, I've done at the moment 3 colours. They're all packaged up ready. I'll try not to let the light shine on this. That's Bermuda Bay, Smoky Slate and Melon Mambo, and they've all got the same style ribbon. Okay, so that's my swaps. I hope you've enjoyed this quick little tutorial. It's a great idea if you ever are in the position where you want to make swaps, or you want to make a little gift to slip inside somebody's birthday card or Christmas card or something. Or if you make goodies for selling at craft shows, this would be absolutely brilliant. So many thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment box below, or if you've got any comments or questions, leave them in the box below, or email me at janb@janbcards.com. If you'd like to purchase any of the products that I featured here today, there'll be a link to my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop in the box below. I'd be very pleased to have your business. I will put all the measurements and the products I've used on the screen. I would also put them in the box below, because I know they're not always visible on the screen depending on which device you're watching on. So underneath the video you'll see where it says show more. If you click on that, it opens up a box and everything will be in there for you. Finally, if you've enjoyed my video and would like to be notified each time I upload a new one, which is normally on Wednesdays and Sundays, please click on the subscribe button and you'll receive an email each time. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.